Welcome to part 26 of Woe to America, Woe to the Nations, and Woe to Babylon. August 14th, 2024 by man's calendar. And I want to just jump straight on back into this video, but I want to recap what I was saying coming out of the last part. They may say they're Republican, and the other side may say they're Democrat, but in truth, they are working together. The leaders, the elitists, are all working together, and they're doing this drama, this big circus, this big show, to make you think they are separated when they are not. And it's all about getting you to go the way they want you to go, and to herd your mindset the way they want your mindset. And you are doing exactly as they're manipulating you to do. Why? Because you can't turn away from the media, you can't turn away from television, you can't turn away from these things that they're using, and you can't turn away from the internet and the things that they are using to control and to manipulate you. Because you want to be like everybody else. Because you want to be in the know, and you want to know everything before it happens, you think. Or you want to know everything that's going on. Talk about your busybodies. And y'all called me a busybody. I'm not a busybody because I happen to know the things that God has told me. I don't go around here getting in other people's business. But if I know something about somebody, you call me a busybody. I can't help what God tells me. That ain't a busybody. Just because y'all don't know how the spiritual gifts work ain't my fault, ain't my problem. That's your problem. You need to take it up with Jesus. Don't call me names just because you don't understand my gifts. I don't like it, and I take it to Jesus when I don't like something. And he absolutely does something about it. I've seen him do it. Now, if you thinking, oh, well, this went wrong today in my life, or that went wrong today in my life, and you've done something evil to me, you best be thinking maybe God did that to get your attention because he's starting small. The next thing might not be that small. You best stop being evil to God's people. Not just me, but to all God's people. You better start living for the Lord and stop acting like you don't gotta. Yeah, you better start living for the Lord and stop acting like you don't gotta do what the Lord tells you. But anyways, I'm just trying to make the point that they're all in on this together. This is Psalms 2. I know y'all have a hard time wrapping your mind around God's truth. There's a reason for that. Maybe it's because you're not of God. Think about it. Let's get back into this.
Supported it. And he supported a balanced federal budget while also wanting to raise taxes on the wealthy. Lots of people, especially those who didn't support him, called Perot a populist. Whatever he was, he struck a chord with voters. Perot won almost 18% of the popular vote running as an independent in the 1992 election, the highest share won by a third-party candidate for 80 years. 4 years later, he won 8% of the vote as the Reform Party candidate. From his penthouse, Donald Trump was watching closely. A successful CEO with experience running a big company had just shaken up American politics. Perot demonstrated that there were votes in challenging the consensus on mainstream issues like free trade. And besides, Trump had way more name recognition. If he ran, why couldn't he win? Acting on the advice of his friend Jesse Ventura, a former professional wrestler who'd been elected governor of Minnesota, Trump joined the Reform Party. He formed an exploratory committee, went on talk shows, took a high-profile campaign swing to California, and vowed to spend $100 million to win not just the Reform Party nomination, but the presidency. He rushed out a book outlining his policy proposals. He even talked about having Oprah as his running mate. Trump won the Reform Party's California primary. It looked like he'd win the entire nomination.
He talked about having Oprah as his running mate. Oprah, who says that there are multiple ways to heaven, mind you. Are y'all seeing this yet?
He could have been up on stage with George W. Bush and Al Gore, two guys who weren't exactly known for their charisma. And then, just as quickly as he entered the race, Trump dropped out.
I'm not going to be running. The party is, as you know, self-destructing.
The Reform Party was being consumed by infighting. Trump believed it wasn't in a position to give him the support he needed. But that was a smokescreen. Even after the Reform Party collapsed, he could have just run as a self-funded independent. Trump didn't.
Yeah, he could have just run as a self-funded independent. But that wasn't the game plan. Because they were setting up this plan all along. They were testing the waters. And still are. To see if you were ready to respond to him being king. See if you was ready to bow at Nebuchadnezzar's feet. Do not bow to a man. There will be consequences.
Run in 2000 because he knew that if he ran and didn't win, he'd look like a loser. That was his biggest nightmare.
I would run if I thought I could win, and in order to
Not only the nomination, but the presidency.
The whole thing. I don't want to get 20% of the vote, and I think I could, and I know I could get the nomination. But I always said, and I said to you, if I could win the whole thing, you can only win the whole thing with a totally unified party.
But Trump didn't close the door on a future run. When asked by a reporter if he'd consider running again, for real, he said he'd consider it in a few years.
It's a real possibility.
We're back to the flirtation here.
Well, I always flirt.
6 months after the 9/11 terror attacks, a man named Mark Burnett came to see Donald Trump with an idea. He'd just finished producing a popular primetime TV show called Survivor, and he wanted to remake it. Only this time, instead of being set in the jungle, it would be set in the boardroom. And he was wondering if Donald Trump would be interested in being one of the hosts. Trump thought it over for a while before agreeing. A couple of years later, the debut episode of The Apprentice went to air.
New York, my city, where the wheels of the global economy never stop turning.
More than 20 million people tuned in on average every week to see contestants face off in various business-related challenges. But the real star was Donald Trump. NBC quickly shelved plans to have rotating hosts and built the entire show around him. In the intro to the very first episode, Trump invoked his comeback of a few years earlier.
I was seriously in trouble. I was billions of dollars in debt. But I fought back, and I won. Big league. And as the man...
Burnett came to see Donald Trump with an idea. He'd just finished producing a popular primetime TV show called Survivor, and he wanted to remake it. Only this time, instead of being set in the jungle, it would be set in the boardroom.
Notice
and he was
the
wondering
numbers
if Donald Trump would be interested
when
in
they
being
show
one of the
them here
hosts.
in a minute.
Trump thought it over for a while before agreeing. A couple of years later, the debut episode of The Apprentice went to air.
New York, my city, where the wheels of the global economy never stop turning.
More than 20 million people tuned in on average every week to see contestants face off in various business-related challenges. But the real star was Donald Trump. NBC quickly shelved plans to have rotating hosts and built the entire show around him. In the intro to the very first episode, Trump invoked his comeback of a few years earlier.
I was seriously in trouble. I was billions of dollars in debt.
Look at the sixes in that number, would you? Look at the sixes right there in that number. Something to think about.
But I fought back, and I won. Big league. And as the master, I want to pass along my knowledge to somebody else. I'm looking for The Apprentice.
The Apprentice was one of the best things that ever happened to him. Over the 14 seasons he was host, Trump made close to $500 million from his salary, licensing, and other residuals. And it did wonders for his reputation. By the 2000s, real estate had been overtaken in the cool stakes by industries like tech. Trump, by virtue of his personality, was partly immune to that effect. But by beaming him into millions of homes every week, Trump was also reminding people that he was a successful businessman with a lifestyle worth emulating. The Apprentice was a major step in the transformation of Trump, from being primarily a real estate developer to being someone whose main business was selling his own name.
You seize opportunity. You get a hit TV show, and the show wasn't even on that long, and you're thinking, fragrance, bored.
Give me just one moment. I want to grab a Bible verse. Okay, here is the Bible verse. All right. And it would be Revelation 13. And I'm going to start at verse 16. And he calls us all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, that no man might buy or sell. Now think on this. That no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or, don't overlook that little word or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is the wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Now why is that? Because the beast is not just one man. Remember, the beast is like trying to be like the Lord. He's trying to be like the Holy Trinity. But see, Jesus is God and the Holy Ghost, all three in one. And that's what the beast is trying to be. Only it's three separate people. You got your false prophet, you got your beast, and so forth, because they're not spirits, so they can't be conjoined as one. They could just work together as one, as a team. Remember that.
Game, books, suits, and you get all that out there. I've been on the air for 11, coming up on 12 years, not one product.
Most of these products failed, some after a few years, others almost immediately. But that was almost beside the point. They were all possible because of the success of The Apprentice. It was 2009, and Trump was about to release his latest book, Think Like a Champion. The U.S. was facing major upheaval on two fronts. The collapse of the investment bank Lehman Brothers triggered a wholesale financial meltdown and recession. And just months after...
Do you see how long you've been worshiping the beast yet? He's got dolls. games, all kinds of things out there in his name. Do you see it yet? See you in the next part.